G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. I hope you're all well in whatever part of the world you're watching this video. Today is Thursday, the 30th of August 2018, and the time here is 09:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Folks, many apologies for the last couple of days. I've been, to say that I feel like I've been pulled through an exhaust pipe and I'm currently sitting in the engine bay is no exaggeration. I feel absolutely awful. Come down with a big man flu, winter flu, stroke, spring flu, whatever you want to call it. Makes me feel fantastic. Not, sorry. And also my wife decided without telling us to change our internet provider, which is always lovely, isn't it, when your husband or wife decide to do something and they don't tell you. So we lost the internet for a couple of days, so it was probably better anyway. Look, if you haven't noticed, I recorded that last video a couple of days before I uploaded it last night, which was ironic because I said in it that the interest rates are going to go up, and bang, interest rates went up. Before I go on to what I was going to show you today about the emerging economies, just so you understand and you can show other people, I just want to show you this because this is actually quite pertinent. Here in Australia, we have a massive problem with the drought. And if you guys know anything at all about farming, Australian farmers anyway, literally their best friends are their dogs. This is how bad it is here now. The farmers are actually dumping the dogs.
In the past 12 months, we've worked with...
So, you know, this is an ad. This is an article in the West Australian under Business and Agriculture. And guys, this story breaks your heart because I've never seen a time, and I used to work on farming and all that sort of stuff, and I can quite honestly tell you that I've never heard of farmers getting rid of their dogs. Because let's be honest, they've got cattle, sheep, and whatever else they could actually kill to feed the dogs. So at what point does it get so bad that you've actually got to get rid of your dogs? Just think about that. I've never in my whole life heard of Aussie farmers getting, and not just one or two, like hundreds. It's getting up into thousands, getting rid of their dogs because they can't feed them. I nearly bawled my eyes out when I read this story, and I'm not joking either. It really touched my heart. You really have to get to the point where you start saying, well, shit, you know, how bad is this? If they're getting rid of their dogs, and their dogs are their livelihood, folks. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because I'll put this link in the description box. If anybody wants to foster one of these dogs here in Australia, please read through this article, and the dogs will be given back to the owners at the appropriate time, you know, when everything turns around again or they've got money or whatever. So basically you take the dog on and, you know, you feed it, look after it, but let's be honest, folks, you're going to need some land because these things are used to running wild, not running wild, but, you know, they love running. The best way for the public to help was to foster ditch working dogs until they could be permanently adopted or returned to their original owners. So look, I'll put all the links in the description box for this. If you can help out, even if it's one dog, then, you know, we've done something, because like I said, I've never heard, some of these dogs are worth 20 grand and they're dumping them. You know, like these dogs are pedigree dogs. They're bred for one thing and one thing only, and that's herding up sheep and cattle. And, you know, the farmers, you know, they're best friends sort of thing, you know. And some of these farms have sometimes up to 6 to 10 dogs. So just imagine how bad this is now. All right, I'll leave that there. Okay, folks, this is Trading Economics. As I said last week, I'm just going to go through just some key pivotal points that you need to understand as regards to emerging markets, interest rates, and inflation. Right. At the top here on the right-hand side, you see the big headline, US GDP growth revised higher to 4.2%. Well, that might sound fantastic, and it probably is if you're in America, but for the rest of the world, that is a big red flag saying, whoa, hang on a minute, you're 2% higher than you were supposed to be. And it's 0.2% higher than it should have been. So what I'm saying to you is that, you know, the US is going like this. It's actually on a shuttle going to the moon. But everyone else is like this, going that way. Now, the US inflation rate can only go one way, folks. If the GDP is taken off like a rocket, where do you think inflation's going to go? Obviously, like a rocket. So the American dollar gets stronger. Now, pretty soon, you'd like to think if they keep getting figures like that, they will have to raise their interest rates. And that's going to have a serious knock-on effect to everybody. The knock-on effect is going to be that the American dollar gets stronger. Inflation rate goes up. Bonds go up. Like, everything is just going to start taking off. So this strategy that Trump's got is good, but it's also very flawed, because he's basically supercharging, he's put a supercharger on the American economy at a time when it needs to be good, but not super good. And then what happens is, eventually, if it keeps on going like this, you'll have the scenario where it'll be last man standing type of thing, and the US will literally break every other country in the world. And that's not hyperbole, by the way. This is already starting to happen in the emerging markets. As I said, Turkey, Argentina, Venezuela. Venezuela's a basket case anyway. But as I said, the Australian market, for example, our money comes from overseas. The big banks loan their money from overseas. They give it to us. They charge a premium on it. Well, that money becomes more expensive. And that's already been, you notice that Westpac put their rates up yesterday, but it's not happening until the 19th of September. So up until that time, they've already got their money from last month to the 19th of September. As of the 19th of September, they're going to have to revalue all their money that they lend or borrow from overseas and lend. So this is a dogfight that isn't going to end well, folks. You've got a chicken and a pit bull fighting at the moment. A Thai chicken with the little claws and a pit bull. Yeah, it's good for a while. And as I said, if you're in America at the moment, you're thinking, whoa, party time. But if you're in Argentina, Turkey, anywhere else, you're just sitting there going, oh my God, when is this going to stop? So I'll show you some of those now, and you'll get an idea. Okay, look to the left-hand side of the page. And as you'll see here, before I do that, look at the bonds. Bonds are going up. Look. They will eventually start overtaking the interest rates. Now, I want to show you a couple of countries here. Let's pick India, because it's always been a bit of a basket case and it's a bit of an emerging market. But look at the interest rate, 6.5. Now, I know for a fact that India got billions and billions and billions of dollars from America. Excuse me. And, stuck their muzzle in at the trough and ate heartily of the American dollar. Look at Brazil. Same interest rate, 6.5, 6.5. Isn't that interesting? Look at the inflation rate, 4.48, 4.17. Look at the American inflation rate, 2.9. So it's double already, and they haven't even started anything yet. But let's go down a bit more because it gets better, if we can. Mexico. Let's pick Mexico. And Indonesia. 7.75 and 4.81. So it's double again. Indonesia, 5.5, 3.1. Not bad. Now, let's go to Turkey. See if I can get this up for you. Get rid of this crap. Not allowed to anymore. That tells you everything you need to know. This bloody computer. Right. Whoa, look at that chart, folks. Can you see anything wrong with that chart? Look at the jump in the last couple of weeks. It's gone from 8 to 18. That's a huge jump, folks. That's in a couple of weeks, by the way. So let's go to the 5-year. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay, well this is interesting. This is a 10-year. And at the peak of the GFC, the interest rate in Turkey was the same as what it is today. Even though we have no alluded crisis at the moment. So do you see what I'm trying to say to you here? And do you see why Bill Halter and Jim Sinclair were on the blower the other day saying, guys, this is it. It's over. Once the emerging markets crash and are crashing, then there is no other way for this to go. And I've just shown you then. And if you weren't looking for that, then you wouldn't even know that, would you? But they do. That's 2008 when it was at 18%. And even though there's no supposed crisis at the moment, it's at 18% now. And it's gone there in 2 weeks. Even this was a slow curve, you know what I mean? So let's just do this and let's go to the max. Woo! Geez, wouldn't you like to be living there then when it was 250? Okay, so let's read this here. I won't read the top bit. I'm going to read the bottom bit. Measures were taken to support financial stability and to sustain the effective functioning of markets as the country will start implementing an economic action plan following the tumbling lira. The currency has lost more than 40% against the dollar so far this year, largely due to worries about President Nutjob's influence over the economy. His repeated calls for lower interest rates in the face of higher inflation and worsening ties with the US. Okay, so you can see it's pretty bad. It's actually worse than bad. Okay, so let's go to Argentina. Once again, in the last 2 weeks, it has absolutely skyrocketed. Let's see what they say down below. Nothing. Well, actually, this is actually pretty good because they give you some emerging market ones here. And as you can see, they've all started to take off. Now, you don't have to be Einstein to work out. Here we go. Let's look at Nigeria. Nigeria's interest rate is 14%. And their inflation is 11.14%. 11.14, is that right? Yeah. So, let's look at Nigeria. Another strong emerging economy. Plenty of oil, natural gas, etc., etc. And it's also heading skywards. Not in the direct instance of the other countries, but I know for a fact that Nigeria has borrowed a shitload of money from the US, and I mean mega billions, to build LPG plants and oil refineries, etc. They literally borrow billions. So, look, the point is, we're going to use Nigeria as our catalyst in the future, and we'll just keep an eye on where their interest rate goes from here, their inflation target, and their inflation, their interest rates and their inflation goes from here, because it'll be interesting to see, because they are considerably stronger than the other countries because of the oil, etc., that they have. Might surprise a lot of people, but Nigeria is actually a pretty rich country. Corrupt as shit, but pretty rich. Now, the problem here for everyone in Australia, and I want to focus on Australia here, because everyone's saying, oh, what do we do about our mortgages, etc., blah, 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 blah. Don't do anything. You just stay where you are. If you've got any brains, you will literally fix your interest rates to the lowest possible that you can get. And as I said, try and get certificates of ownership for your house mortgage to the bank, tied to the bank. You're going to find that really hard to do. There is no easy way out of this, folks. It's not going to be easy. If you listen to the interview of Greg Hunter the other day with Bill Holter and Jim Sinclair, you might have noticed that towards the end of the conversation, they said, look, stop worrying about money, gold, everything else, and start focusing on food, water, and things to keep you alive, diesel, etc. Because that's how bad this is going to get. I would like to say I can see a way out of this, but there is no way out of this, folks. It's mathematically a certainty. Whether they do it, I was speaking to Stroppy Me yesterday, and he said, oh, I've heard all this before, prep, and he's a forensic accountant. And he and I used to be right into this. And he's kind of dropped off because he said quite rightly, I'm sick of hearing about it. Although all the parameters are there, they've done stuff that no one, even in their right mind, a couple of years ago, would have thought possible. Doing dodgy deals, etc., etc. So people like us are sitting here going, wow, everything's great. Although we've started to wake up a bit, but then the people that aren't us are sitting there going, well, I can still use my credit card, everything's fine. Watch, in the Western Australian, for example, did you know that they have an economic crash at the moment? And it hasn't gotten any better, even though they're trying to beef it up, it's not. And they have one of the highest repossession rates in Australia, if not Australia, the biggest in Australia. It's absolutely crashing there, folks. The prices of houses are, you know, when I was there a couple of years ago, say in the boom, you could buy and build a new house, big 4x2, 450 grand on a postage stamp, but it was a big, massive house, and you were happy. You can't even buy them now. You can't even give them away for 350,000, 360, because no one wants them. And there's people over there just driving to the airport, going back to whichever country they came from, and leaving everything there. And I knew that before I left WA. So imagine what it's like now. I read a report just 2 days ago in West Australian. If you want to look for it, you'll find it, about Baldivis being the highest repossession place in Australia, the debt capital of Australia. And that's in an economically, supposedly fantastic environment. So my warning is this, if there is a warning. And I would probably go along with what Bill holds. I can show you as many of these charts as you want to look at, because I know what's going on. But at the end of the day, it's not relevant. What's relevant is food and water, and making sure that your car's tuned. These are all the things that I keep an eye on. You know, does your car need tyres now? Or are you going to put it off for another month? I wouldn't be putting it off. My car's due tyres, and I've told the missus we're getting them now, because I know what's coming. Yeah, it's a bit of an outlay, but I own the car. You put tyres on it, I own the tyres. Try taking them off. That's my point. Start concentrating on food, water, and medicines for your family that you're going to need for the future. Because this is not going to go away overnight. And there will be a war out of it. Guarantee it. Unfortunately. Because there's a little place called China that their people don't know this, but we all know this, if you're actually in the know. Excuse me, folks, sorry. Their debt level is just what can only be described as ludicrous. It makes America's look, you know, somewhat tame. And when this all goes doof, the Chinese have backed themselves with gold. Well, that's great. But what if no one wants to buy any gold? What are they going to do? And I suppose that's the overriding message. And I'm kind of pretty sure that's why America got rid of so much of its gold. Because when this does crash, and it's going to crash, what's the point? Who needs more gold when you've got no money anyway? So basically this is going to come down to, and it always has been, I've said this from day one, the last man standing. Unfortunately, here in Australia, we're not going to be anywhere placed to be last man standing. So we're just going to have to align ourselves with either China or America. And you've seen over the last 6 months, we've drastically gone along with China and then got to a T intersection, and we were given a choice, turn left or right. And we went, well, we'll go right with America. And that's why our politics is playing up, and that's why everything's playing up at the moment. Because we have, and we have to, align ourselves with America. It's as simple as that. At best, China's just a bully boy. So my overriding thing here is, folks, and I'm going to move on from this now a little bit and go more into the prepping stuff so that you guys have an idea where to go to buy stuff, etc. and make sure that you're actually well prepared, if there is such a thing as well prepared. You can be somewhat prepared, I guess. All right, folks, let's do the prayers. Wow, pretty interesting verse of the day. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you all are all one in Jesus Christ, or Christ Jesus. I'll read it again. Sorry, folks, had a sneezing fit. There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. Interesting. Okay, the Lord's Prayer. And look, folks, today we'll say this prayer for the poor old cockies who, are getting a hammering at the moment. And, when people are giving away their dogs, then things are pretty crook. The Lord's Prayer. Our hearts go out to you guys. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right, folks, I'll leave it there. Like I said, keep the farmers in your mind here in Australia, and if you can help out with the dogs, get in touch with the people in the description box, okay? All right, folks, God bless. Prep out.